And welcome to another edition of the New Sports Outlaws podcast. As always, I'm Neil and this is Dan. Dan, we had an exciting weekend of NFL playoffs that we just passed, and we have another round coming up this week. Dan, how are you doing?
Going well, going into the holiday weekend and what is known as the greatest or the best NFL weekend of the year. Normally, has some great matchups to break down. Let's get started. Got a lot to do.
Yep. I think we had some eye-opening things this last weekend. I don't think that any of us expected the Texans to be as dominant as they were last week. I know we're both neither a huge Justin Herbert fan, but I don't think either one of us and a lot of people, the betting market, wasn't ready for that Texan performance. And they were dominant and they disrupted Herbert. And Harbaugh didn't have an answer, which surprised me maybe the most about that game. So now the Texans, prize for upsetting the LA Chargers is Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chargers kind of lost that game in the first quarter. They had actually a really good first couple drives. And it ended up coming in 2 field goals, I believe. So I think they were only up 6-0. And it ends up being like something that they were dominant, and I think the Texans, it would have been a lot, obviously, closer game, or even for the Chargers if they kind of scored touchdowns in that position. And once they kind of woke up a little bit, it was kind of over, and they did. And like you said, the Chargers didn't really punch back afterwards. So, for both of us, obviously, both our picks, obviously, wasn't as planned. But the Texans showed me something. They did. They had a really good game. They came back. They got hit early at home, and they came back for it. Stroud looked pretty good from the second quarter on. Found Nico Collins. Joe Mixon got in the mix throughout the game, and they pretty much, like you said, dominated the second, third, and fourth quarter. And Justin Herbert just kind of confirmed all the things that I thought beforehand that we've talked about in the past. And obviously, Harbaugh couldn't cure Herbert and his lack of clutchness in the big moments. So, but yeah, the Texans, big game, another early 4:30 start on a Saturday against the Super Bowl reigning champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it's not the highest line of the week, but by a point, but it is the second highest of the four games. Real quick on the Chargers, you can't do anything. You're gonna have to do the best you can with Herbert, whether you're not a supporter like we are, or whether you think he's a top 10 quarterback in the league. I think you got to get him some weapons. They did a good job finding off the scrap heap Gus Edwards and off the scrap heap J.K. Dobbins. But it's really Lag McConkey, and that's it. There's nothing else to pass to in that offense. Quentin Johnston is a train wreck. So that was a bad pick a couple years ago by them. So they need to get some more weapons around Herbert. Just a quick little tidbit I had about the Texans. I thought the Texans pass rush looked awesome against the Chargers, and I think in using that toward our preview for this game, I think Patrick is going to be under some duress. Is one thing you have seen still is that he's scampering around a lot, and for my opinion on KC is we're done seeing the KC of 40-point games. We'll see if they need to tap into that previous history whether they face either the Bills or the Ravens, because either team can put up tons of points. But I think you're going to get another one of these. Kansas City is going to play good opportunistic defense. Offense will score when they need to, but they're not going to run up the score. I think if you see a return to the old Chiefs, it'll be next week when they win this game, and whoever they play in the next round.
Yeah, unless you're really a Texans fan, I don't know a soul that's really going to pick the Texans in this game. Um, the Chiefs really haven't been carried by Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes has just kind of been there for if they needed that fourth quarter drive. And pretty much 100% of the time this year, he has come through in that fourth quarter, whether it's a field goal, whether it's a touchdown, whatever it is. But the only chance the Texans have is that pass rush that you're talking about. They're going to need to get to Mahomes and force some turnovers. Because I think that Chiefs defense is going to feast on C.J. Stroud. I think Chris Jones is going to be all in that backfield. The Chiefs do have Hollywood Brown coming back. I know he's not the greatest, but he's a speedster that usually Mahomes kind of finds out how to get those guys just involved somehow. But I think they have plenty of weapons. I think, like you said, it's probably not going to be a blowout. It'll probably come close to that spread, which I think is -8, I want to say, or something close to that. But yeah, I could see this being just a quick, like in the 20s, like something 20 to the teens kind of game. And
Yep.
Chiefs will coast, I think, like you said,
Like a
to the
like a
AFC
20
Championship.
like a 24-20, like a
Or even a
twenty-three
touchdown to dismiss the
seventeen.
spread,
Yep.
27-20, or something like that.
Yep, something like that. Yep, I can definitely see that. Okay, moving on to our next game of Saturday, and that's going to be the biggest spread of the weekend, and that is the Commanders versus the Detroit Lions, America's team, if you will, because it seems like everyone wants the Lions to win and go and play in the Super Bowl. The Commanders can score, but my question for you is, can they really keep up with the Lions? Defense has been opportunistic, but I don't know if the offense is that good.
Yeah, the Lions showed me a lot 2 weeks ago when they played the Vikings for the division. And I think everyone thought that would be more of a higher scoring game. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people picked the over for that game. And I think at halftime, it was only like 9-6 or 12-7, something really low scoring. No, actually, whatever, it doesn't matter, against the Vikings. And what their defense did is they blitzed and they doubled Justin Jefferson. That's what the Lions did in that game. And I could see something similar with the Commanders, against the Commanders, with them just doubling Terry McLaurin. But the only thing is Jaden Daniels can run. So I think they'll give the Lions a little bit of fits around there, around that kind of thing. But I think, like you said at the beginning, the Lions' offense seems like a well-oiled machine. David Montgomery, I believe, is on the way back, or if he's playing this game. So that just adds more to the running game, even though Gibbs was kind of dominating anyway. Like you said, I think Commanders can put up some points, but I just think the Lions are putting up a lot more.
Yep. Looking at the numbers today, when I was doing some previews for these games, the Lions on the season outscore their opponents by 13 points on average and outgain their opponents by 20 plus yards per game. I just think that the Commanders, although can score, I don't know that they're going to outscore the Lions offense. And I will, especially with what you are preaching now, I do 100% agree. And I wrote myself a note down that when I put my parlays in this weekend, I want to take the over for Zacchaeus and the over for Ertz, because if they're going to try to shut down Terry McLaurin and let the rest of those weapons try to beat them.
Yeah, Ertz has been a red zone fiend late in the
Yeah.
year. Ertz has been getting those touchdowns.
Yep. Come on. Especially that last fourth of the season. So the first game, I'm sorry, the third game, or the first game on Sunday, is a 6-point spread at the moment, and it is the Los Angeles Rams who upset at least the betting market by beating the Vikings. Will go into skanky Philadelphia and will put up with their awful fan base and face the Philadelphia Eagles. What do you think?
Yeah, Rams again, another team showed me a lot. I mean, I don't know if that was more Sam Darnold being Sam Darnold, but the Rams have a really good, even though they lost Aaron Donald last year for retirement, the Rams have a really good young defensive line. And obviously, big thing in playoffs is the defensive line. That seems a big thing in terms of getting to the quarterback. So I think their defense will be all right. I think in terms of the passing, I think you'll see A.J. Brown reading his same book that he read over the sidelines the previous the previous. Now it's a bestseller. So I'm sure that author is just praising AJ Brown right now. I think Saquon Barkley. I think they can run over the. Aaron Jones had a little bit of success in the little bit of offense that the Vikings put up last week. I think Saquon could do more because the Eagles. I almost think that Hurts is almost not. I don't want to say weak link is such a bad term, but their offensive line and defensive line is legit, and that's what wins in the playoffs. I just said the offensive line, defensive line. They have a good secondary. I think the Eagles are just kind of too stacked in this game. I think they can put up some points. Stafford's going to, he's not afraid of the moment. He's going to do what he can. I think Puka is going to put up his numbers. I think it's one of those Stafford's going to throw for like 300, maybe even 350 if he has to. But I think it's just not going to be enough in the end. But I think the Eagles will, off their win, I think they'll kind of do the same thing.
Yeah. Building off what you said, I think the Rams have to put this game on Hurts. They have to try to do their best to equalize Barkley
or something
and put it on Hurts. If they have any chance of winning this game, and we talked about this pre-show, everything in my body would love to see the Eagles fall and crash and have to fire Sirianni because he's a moron, and for that fan base to be crying. I would love it. But if they have a chance to do it, my personal opinion is they have to put this on Hurts. They have to try to take Barkley out as good as possible. Dan, I did some research. They were bottom 8, the Rams, in points and yards given up this year, as far as how many yards, how many points they give up per game. That plays right into Philadelphia's strong suit in both those same categories. They were top 8 this year. So, I hope that the Rams win this. I look at it like it's an uneven fight. And I hope I'm wrong. I've been wrong a lot. I documented it on a podcast. I put up my record all season long. I had my worst year of picking games, but I just don't see. I don't see where they can make this a game that they can win unless they 100% put it on Hurts' shoulders.
Yeah, Stafford's going to have to put on that cape. And like you said, I think what you just said, somewhat restrain Barkley or kind of get him just not the chunk plays, get him the small little 3-4 yard plays.
Yep.
And that's how.
Yep. So we come to what everyone in the world who watches the NFL is been anticipating. To get Ravens and the Chiefs, or Ravens and the Bills, or Bills and the Chiefs. You're gonna get 2 matches like that. You're gonna get the Ravens and the Bills this week, and the winner's gonna go play, we think, the Chiefs next week. So, what do you think about the Ravens and Bills? Think it's gonna be everything it's being built up to be?
Well, when they first met, the Ravens just kicked the ever-loving crap out of them when they first played. I want to say week 8 or 9, forgot what it was. But they embarrassed, actually, the Bills in that game. And I think that Josh Allen is going to do everything in his power. He's going to need, so for anyone with those parlays, anything like that, especially with the rushing yards, rushing attempts, I would choose the over on both of those things. He knows that he has to do absolutely everything in this game. It's going to be a high score. I think the Ravens are kind of, the only team is the Chiefs. I think the Ravens are on a crash course for the Chiefs, and this is their year, I think, to kind of get to the Super Bowl. When Henry and Jackson and Zay Flowers didn't even play last week, and they tore up the Steelers. Not like the Steelers are the best, but in a division matchup, which I know we saw maybe being closer, because I know that's why none of us really picked that game. I think we all saw the Ravens winning, but we were like, -8, that's maybe not going to happen on a division game. Instead, they just kind of destroyed them, and it wasn't even as close as the score said. I think the Ravens are going to put up points because the Bills' defense isn't too great. I think the Ravens' offense is just so much better. And it's going to be up to Josh Allen to put up one of those 5 to 6 touchdown games in order for them to have a chance. I actually, unfortunately, don't really see the Bills having too much of a chance. I know they're home. I know it's going to be cold. I think the Ravens are just too good, but I don't know. Let me know what you think.
I think this is going to be a knockdown, drag out game. I could 100% see the Bills winning, and I can 100% see the Ravens winning. My questions to this game are: is Lamar going to show us last week, or is Lamar going to revert to playoff Lamar? The stakes are higher. Maybe it's not this week. Maybe he steps up, and then they win, and it goes on to next week, and then that's the real judge. But Baltimore. I'm sorry. The Bills' defense will give up points. I think they're going to have to try to neutralize Henry and Lamar as much as you can. Neutralizing might look like 80 and 50 or 90 and 50 as far as yards, but you got to do your best to keep Henry at 100 or under 100, and you got to do your best to keep Lamar around 50 or under. And I think that if you can do that with both of them, you should be able to win the game. Offensively, Buffalo, I think, to win this game, Josh is going to have to turn this into a two-man game like San Francisco. I know when they play San Francisco, I know it was the snow. I know San Francisco beat up. But the way him and Cook just basically, we're going to work this offense together. I'll dink it over the top every once in a blue moon, but it's you and me, bud. I'm going to throw it to you in the flat. I'm going to run it. You're going to run it. I think that's this recipe for the Bills to find victory here, being the only home team to be the underdog going into this weekend.
Yeah, you're probably right. They just got to put it in the hands of their best guys. Allen just got to. He's going to have to know also when to dump it off if he has to go to James Cook or if he has to go to Dalton Kincaid, because everybody in the whole world knows that Josh Allen's going to have the ball in his hands, and the Ravens have to do their best, obviously, to make sure that he's not the one. It's easier said than done. We say this every week. You can say it every week kind of about Buffalo. But even against last week, Josh Allen was just putting every key third down. I was watching the game. He was doing a jet sweep, or I think he ran the ball like most of their 3rd and 5s, 3rd and 6s, just because he knows he has to be the MVP of the team. So his case for MVP is kind of, I'm not saying it doesn't count for the playoffs, but like this is why they'll show he's the MVP and kind of instead of Lamar Jackson. I think Josh Allen personally. I know we really haven't talked about it. I personally think Josh Allen was the MVP this year, and he's definitely gonna have to show it to even have a chance.
Yeah, if you don't remember, I think I mentioned this either not last week, maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago on the pod. I said that I thought your pick of Josh Allen for MVP was going to cash in. I think that he's been the best. Lamar has been even better than he was last year. It's not taking anything away from Lamar, but you have to. We see it in the NBA all the time. We've seen it on other teams, on baseball teams. When you have another star next to you, sometimes it takes away. And as good as James Cook has been this year, he's not Derrick Henry. And I think the attention Derrick Henry gets with having the type of year he had takes away enough from Lamar that Allen is the MVP. So they're going to, like you said, he's going to have to put it on his shoulders and put it with him and Cook. I think we're going to get a really good game this week.
Hope
I
so.
I'm gonna say one of those two big spread games, the Chiefs and the Lions. One of those two games is gonna be a lot closer, and like we said before, I think it's gonna be the Chiefs. But um, uh, Dan, really quick, I know I didn't have this in our pre-production notes, but there's been no news on baseball. I just want to mention that because we're very baseball centric podcast. The Yankees, I haven't heard anything except for that Sasaki has taken the Yankees and Mets out, which I think he ruled out the Mets a while ago. But taking the Yankees and Mets out, it's down to the Padres, the Dodgers, and Toronto. And the Mets, there's been a little turmoil on the fan about Pete Alonso and should they respect Pete. You know, Steve Cohen's already got his greedy eyes on Vlad Guerrero Jr. So that's what's up in baseball world. Any comments about what's going on in Hot Stove?
Yeah, so listening to Afternoon Drive on the way home today, and listen to Evan and Lou Gower kind of go at it about
Cookie.
and Alec about Pete Alonso, and they want Pete Alonso, but they only want him under their terms. They only
Correct.
want him for the year or two, or have him at least with that year option or whatever it is. It's the news. I don't know if we said it last week, but that Pete for the 3 years. Apparently, for 3 years, that the agent came back for just the Mets for just 3 years. Um, I feel like if that's not done, if that's really true and that's not done, that just says that the Mets really, if there's something that we don't know, they don't want him for the long term. Like I think you say for the Vlad Guerrero Jr. And that could kind of, I think, in my opinion, kind of put a little bit of like a like it was kind of good with the hometown Pete Alonso, the hometown guy. I know he really overall had a bad season last year. He just had a really good like 2 or 3 spots where it was great. But I think going after someone that's not your own is a little bit kind of like trying to be Yankee-esque a little bit, and could kind of get that whole good feeling Mets thing kind of going out the window. But that we could talk about in April and all that, March and April. Yeah, Yankees, not much. I forgot the Mets are. I was just remembering who they're in on somebody else, or they called about somebody else. I forget. Doesn't even matter. They're probably not going to get them. But yeah, the Yankees are kind of still looking for middle infielders or infielders. Bregman is still out there. Obviously, I don't know what's going on with Bregman. I hear the Cubs were talking about Bregman. Um, there's a lot of guys still out there. Isn't oh no, he signed already. Burns signed.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there's a couple guys still out there. We need some middle infields. I wonder if this is kind of just a dead time until like February, maybe, until more guys have to sign.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Yankees still have some work to do, and Mets definitely have some work to do.
Yes, they do. Speaking of work to do, your Brooklyn Nets are now the seventh worst team in the NBA, and they are slowly getting back into that tankathon. And Cooper Flag had another big game I saw on social media the other day. So let's go Nets.
Hey, yeah, it's weird that before yesterday's game, I think we had lost. I forgot how much we lost in a row. I don't know. It's like 4 or 5, whatever it is. And it was all kind of embracing the tank. D'Angelo Russell hadn't played for like 5 games with this contusion, whatever. Cam Johnson was out. Everybody's been out, and kind of been, especially that game before the Blazers, where we lost, and we were like, oh, we're embracing the tank. The tank's coming. Cooper Flag had a 40-point game. Oh my God, he beat I think it was Notre Dame or something. Oh my God, the Irish. Oh my God, Notre Dame basketball. Oh my God, let's score 40 against the Irish. And then, JJ Redick. Oh, JJ Redick. Oh, he's the last one to score 40. Oh, great. JJ Redick was great. #1 pick, right? Um, yeah, I don't know. But then they came back yesterday and they beat the Blazers. So all on Nets Twitter is just all up in arms. Oh my God, fire Sean Marks. Oh my God, he sucks. What are we doing? He should have sat today against the Clipper. I just don't get tanking when we're not even halfway through the season. I can get it when we're like maybe 20 games out, 15 games out. But come on now, we're just going to start the year tanking. We're 30 games in. We're going to lose enough anyway. We'll get enough. We'll get a top 7 pick and we'll be just fine. Relax. RELAX.
Well,
Relax.
as a Knicks fan who's gotten screwed over by the lottery system for years, the more ping pong balls you have, the better. But speaking of basketball, let's move over to the only team that matters. The New York Knickerbockers, not looking so good lately. Cat has now hurt his thumb. They're 5-5 in their last 10, and the defense just doesn't look right. But then tonight they're beating Philly, so who knows?
Well, it seems like there's a little bit of drama in Nickland. I hear Josh Hart kind of been saying in his post-game conferences, at least for the last 2 games that they lost against
So
the Thunder and against the Pistons, that they need to put aside some players, their personal agendas. So
that
that's been a hot. So that's been a kind of a hot point among some of the Knicks fans on the fan. Go ahead. What do you think?
I'll tell you who my guess is that he's
I
talking about, and then I want to hear what your guess is. And my guess might surprise you. I'm thinking OG.
oh yeah, I am 100. I'm yeah. Go yeah. I
So
agree. I agree. I 100%
I'm thinking
agree.
OG because I don't know
That's
that
what
it
we all
would be
team.
Cat.
That's
I
what we
don't.
all team.
It's got to be Cat or OG. Let's put it that way. I don't think it can be Brunson.
It's
He's not
not
gonna
the
talk bad about.
Villanova boys. It's not the Villanova boys.
He's not gonna talk bad about his boy. I don't think he's gonna be talking about anybody off the bench. I think he's talking about Princess Achua. That Princess shouldn't be like trying for open threes. No,
And
I think just it's either got to be and he's not going after Mikal because Mikal's the Villanova boy. So it's got to be OG or Cat, and my guess is probably OG. I don't know why I'm watching the games. I don't think he's acting selfish, but Josh feels something about somebody on that team because now he's said it more than once. So
you don't say that unless something's going on up there. And all I'm going to say is I am 100% on you with OG. Um, I just remember that in the offseason when they were signing contracts and Jalen Brunson looked like the biggest hometown hero of all time when he signed his extension early so that he kind of not lost, but like he left money on the table to
yeah,
re-sign with the Knicks. And OG, I think, said in the offseason that it was a big thing with him where he wasn't really taking a dime less than what he ended up getting, whatever
yeah,
40 million a year, whatever he ended up getting. So I don't know. It's still early. Knicks are still 26 and 15, third in the East. But this could be something maybe during the playoffs in case something happens. It could be something that's brewing.
yep. And not my own opinion. It's owned by a lot of people, but Leon Rose has to do something at the deadline. I'm not saying mix up your starting lineup. I'm just saying maybe go get some bench pieces that Tibbs is going to trust. I I really think that he's going to eventually, if they get him a bench piece, maybe go to a 10-man deep lineup. I know he likes to keep it at 8 or 9, but that is just wearing down your starters. You need to have that second unit ready to score. The Knicks bench scoring has been atrocious. Whether it's a trade, whether it's Mitchell Robinson, they have to get more pieces coming off the bench that can give them some offense. I'm still under no delusions. I don't think they're part of the top 3 in the league, but I feel like they could be one of the best teams after that top row.
Yeah, sure. No, I got it. Yeah, no. I mean, the Cavs are looking really good. Boston's looking really good. It's going to be them three, and it should be them three. Just kind of, I mean, it's kind of far stretch right now for the first seed, but obviously because you would have to play Boston or in the second round if you got there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be top three, and that's kind of the way you want it. I mean, you're not going to be a far to head the best team. You got to go through Boston. You're going to go through Cleveland, and that's how you
Yep.
earn it.
Okay. So just a little program update. We're gonna have our NFL picks as good as we can get it. We'll come up with a format for this week. But we'll make our picks this week, and we'll make our picks for the week after, and we'll make a Super Bowl pick. Maybe for Super Bowl pick, we'll throw in like our pick and maybe like a little parlay to put it on. Yeah. Keep following us. And Dan, anything you want to say before we sign off here?
No, not at all. Got picks. We'll make our picks probably, I guess, Friday. Maybe post them Saturday morning ish. And yeah, like you said, we got less games now. So probably have to pull, especially for next week, we might have to pull something else out with more parlays, which I would love to do. But yeah, keep leaving those comments, keep leaving likes, subscribing, Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube. So until next time, I'm Danny. This is Neil. Signing off.